It's time for the 32081 Scoreboard Show. Let's recap the latest weekly scores and highlights from around the county.
And we are back. This is the Todd with the man, the myth, the legend from the Ponte Vedra Beach Recorder, Anthony Richards, and we are here to kick off the 2024 football season with you. How are you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing great. Happy to have football back. I can just smell it in the air.
You were probably ecstatic on Friday night when you were over watching Ponte Vedra and St. Augustine, and then caught a little bit of the beachside game. You were probably like, "We're back!"
Oh yeah, it's like Christmas for us football guys every year.
Oh, I tell you what, I know I was excited watching Nease and Oakleaf. Just like you said, having it back in the air. Now we got college starting just this weekend. So yeah, it's gonna be great. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So listen, I know you were over at Ponte Vedra Beach St. Augustine, and then you went over to Beachside. So why don't we start with you, and then we'll check in over at Nease and Oakleaf, and then we'll see what's going on at Beachside. But I got to ask you. The biggest thing I've been hearing from everybody is about this vicious four-man defensive front for Ponte Vedra. I heard that they're fast, they're strong, and I'm kind of wondering what you saw with them and also how the secondary is looking with their loss of Joe Mahoney back there also. So what did you think about Ponte Vedra overall, what you saw at St. Augustine?
Yeah, it was a good game, from what I saw. I mean, the defense does look really strong up front. I mean, all the guys are just massive guys, hard to move. And, you got, St. Augustine hit him for a couple of chunk plays early on and got a couple touchdowns. But then it seems like as soon as the defense kind of made an adjustment, they were just back to that normal Ponte Vedra defense that we've come to expect over the years. That seems to be a staple of the program at this point. I mean, you got Riker Kemp and Robbie Greco off the edge. You got Martin Geary. It's like 6'3", 280 in the middle. Like I wouldn't want to run against him if I was.
Louise, what are they feeding that boy? Wow.
Yeah, jeez. I know. Yeah, and he knows it too.
Oh yeah. So I want to ask you about this though, because one thing that you and I were texting about, and we've talked about, is that when we go out and we watch these preseason games, these kickoff classics that they're called, and we've also talked about how the coaches don't even know where some of the players are going to fit overall. That we look at specific players. We look to see where stuff was improved over the past year. What were you looking specifically at when you went out to watch Ponte Vedra play this kickoff class against the Yellow Jackets?
I was really looking at Drew Price, who's going to be the starting quarterback this year. I was looking at him a lot, obviously, because he's replacing Ben Burke, who has been another staple in the Ponte Vedra program. Starter for 3 years. I mean, those guys are hard to find and they're hard to replace. But I was really looking at him and seeing how he connected with his receivers and how he just ran the offense. And it looked like, he looked like Ben out there running around and throwing passes. And I left thinking this Ponte Vedra offense, okay, might be pretty similar, maybe even a step better, than last year, which is saying something.
I don't know if you agree or disagree with me here, but I kind of watched Ben last year and I thought Ben was a run first, pass second type of quarterback when he got some pressure on him. Drew, to me, watching him, I've been watching him since he was in 8th grade at Palm Valley Academy, and he seems to have the poise, not that Ben didn't, and I don't mean it like that, but I'm just saying he seems to have that thought process of pass first, run second. Even getting outside the corner, getting outside the pocket, he doesn't get flustered very easy. He's still looking downhill and kind of gives defenses that little bit of a problem of going, do I rush him and then he dumps it over my head, or do I not draw back and he gains 4 or 5 yards in the first down?
Yeah, it's hard to defend because you just wait for a second to see if he's going to run it, and then he just throws it over your head because now the receiver's passed you a second. So it's hard to defend. And it seemed like he also had, you kind of look for new quarterbacks. Like there's always that one guy that they just right out of the gate, just seem to have a connection with. It just comes natural. And there's a junior receiver, Jack Berquist, who caught a bunch of passes, including like a deep go route down the sideline at one point. He's 6'3", 195. So if you're like a new starter at quarterback, even though Drew's a senior, like you want those guys you can just throw the ball up to, and they've also got some speed to go with it. So that Price-Berquist connection might be something to really watch this year.
How'd the secondary look without Joe Mahoney back there? Because I know that's kind of something both Nease and Ponte Vedra are looking at. They've lost 2 key players back there. Actually, Nease also lost Carrillo, but I was thinking more towards Kate Papineau back in the safety position. So how did the Ponte Vedra secondary look?
They looked they looked good, like they were kind of controlling things. I mean, they did look like there were some new guys back there, making sure they're in the right place, right position, making sure they've got the right reads, and making sure they're covering their guys. Knowing kind of what if they're in zone or man. So that's what the kickoff classics for, is to kind of work those kinks out. And I didn't feel like they were jeopardizing the defense at all at any point. So I mean, they allowed some plays, and then they came back and had some passes defended, so they were able to bounce back, which is something that you like to see, especially from new starters, essentially.
Yeah, you're right, and it's really hard. I mean, that's what I'm saying, that we usually look at players, specific players. We're not really looking at the scoreboard. I know some of the fans do, some of the players do, but these kickoff classics, while people like to win them, there's no doubt about that. They play to win. It's also usually 3/4 of the varsity. It's a mixed match of different players at different positions, and then usually the JV. And a lot of these games this past weekend played in the fourth quarter, from what I understand. So I guess we can go over to Nease. We can drive out over the Buckman, catch up over in Oakleaf, and see what's happening over there. I will tell you that I was watching some key players, and the ones that I were watching on defense, I was watching Noah Hodge, Joe Miracle, and Shamar McNair. I will tell you that we already know Jacob Curry had a great season last year, and so did Noah Hodge. But I want to watch Noah from the linebacker position, and I will tell you that his ball reading skills, the whole defense, in fact, now under Coach Garth, Coach G as they call him, they move in unison. It's amazing how well they're able to read, run, and pass. And Noah's footwork and his ability to see that from that linebacker position, he played very, very well there. Joe Miracle, who was off last season, came back this season. Anthony, I got to tell you, I don't know if he took a season off. I mean, I don't. I mean, he looks strong. He looks fast. I saw him after the game. He was smiling. He was happy. He was like, this is going to be a great season. He's fired up and ready to go, but he looks fantastic in the linebacker position also. And I think that, him, Jacob Curry, and Noah are just going to be phenomenal there. And then the other part was, like I mentioned before, they lost Cade Papineau, who's a preferred walk-in on Florida State. And I was kind of wondering how they're going to fill this position there, because you've also got Creel Carter that they lost on the outside, and Elijah looks good coming back. Luckett looks good on the outside. But Shamar McNair, who's a 3-star, dude, I'm going to tell you, if this kid hit me today, he'd knock me back into 5th grade. I mean, I was up in the press box, and I was like, wow. You could hear the hits. He was laying the hammer. Very good footwork, good speed. So their defense looks good. The defensive line did what they were supposed to do. So, but again, like you said, very vanilla plays. So how do you judge that? But they did what they were supposed to do. They looked physical. So the defense, Coach G being back at Nease, I think is a very good thing.
Oh yeah. It's funny how just some coordinators just have that feel, that touch with their team, and Coach G leaves and he comes back now a couple of years later, and it just seems like he doesn't even miss a beat. Like it seems like he never left. I mean, that's just that special connection he has with his players. Well,
not only with the players, he's got it with the community. I mean, he's got everybody fired up. I mean, everybody loves him. I mean, you see him, he gets everybody fired up. Everyone's laughing, having a great time, and fired up about Nease football. So he really brings a big spark, and it's really complimentary to drafts. So I think it's great that he's back. On the offensive side of the ball, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think this is probably one of the best receiving corps that Drafts has had while he's been at Nease. He's got 4 outstanding seniors, and now he's got another transfer in Vernon. Vernon Stevens. He had a really nice catch. It was a ball thrown. The defensive player made a play on the ball, had it in his hands in the air. While he's in the air, Vernon goes up behind him, pulls it back down from him for a huge gain. It was an unbelievable play. He's got speed. So my thing also that I was watching here was Tyler Gazenfari, because he's obviously replacing Danny at kicker. But the other thing, too, was that Maddox Spencer had such a good year last year, as well as Braden Felder, that I expect for them to draw a lot of attention, which could leave Tyler open in the slot. Tyler's hands look so good this season. You can tell he's been working. You can tell he's been putting it in. He caught a nice pass over the middle. He was wide open. So I think from that standpoint, that these receivers are going to have a great year.
Nice. And depth at receivers, like quarterbacks, that and, the O-line, but it's the quarterback's, best friend. You can, knowing that you can rely on, when you throw it, the guys are going to catch it. They have reliable hands, and it just puts even more question into the defense's mind. Like, okay, we'll double team Maddox. So you think that you got that covered, but what about all the other guys?
The other thing I'd like to throw in here, Anthony, I didn't tell you about this before the show, but talked to some people I know over at the North Florida Officials Association who send the officials out to the football games that we see. They're actually interested in possibly joining us on one of our podcasts and kind of talking about what they see and what they look for to hopefully help, some of the parents, fans, everybody else kind of know through the eyes of an official what we're looking for. Like for example, everyone thinks that pass interference in high school, well, it's not a catchable ball. Well, guess what? In high school, there is no such thing. You can have pass interference on a non-catchable ball. So that'll be cool having them. I thought you might like that.
Oh yeah, that'd be a really neat perspective to see the game from.
All right, so let's talk about Beachside and Atlantic Coast. Atlantic Coast now without their quarterback of 3 years, Sean Speed, who kicks off the college season, I think, in 2 weekends. So what did you think about these two programs? You got Beachside coming out of being independent for 2 years, and now they're stepping right into a district with Ponte Vedra. And you've got a second-year head coach over Atlantic Coast, a new offensive coordinator. What were your thoughts over there?
Yeah, I mean, I like Beachside. I think, based off of, they had 2 winning seasons their first 2 years, and now as an independent, and now they're, like you said, in the district, so they're ready to kind of, play with the big boys, and I think out of all the teams, especially in the county, they're the wild card. It's kind of like, you don't know how they're going to do. I mean, they could just continue the success, they could, have some hiccups along the way, but I mean, I'm just fascinated with them just to watch them and to really also just get to know them even more now that they're in the district with PV, and they're going to be playing Nease and PV and Decoy and all these other county teams. It's going to be like a true round robin, and it's going to be fun to watch.
So I think their success definitely gave them some swagger, so to speak. I mean, the confidence building, right? Does that kind of hurt them a little bit, Anthony, in your opinion, that they were so successful at the independent stage and now they're coming into a district with Ponte Vedra that, guess what these teams are going to say from the get-go? This is no pushover. This is no pushover team. They're going to be ready for them. This is not a, 3-7 team or a 2-7, 2-8 team. They're here to play. So does that kind of put a little target on their back when they come in on Friday nights against some of these teams?
And I think it does, because, I mean, they're not going to be, looked down upon. They're going to be expected to give a good game. They've been a winning program their first couple of years. So they're not your typical, they're in their third year, we don't have to worry about them for a little bit, type of thing. They've shown that they can compete, against whoever they go up against. So now, now just do it in the district. So, I mean, for them, they just are probably thinking, let's just keep doing what we're doing. But they're definitely not going to be overlooked. That's for sure. I mean, teams are going to know they run this, fun kind of high flying offense that throws it around a bunch, and defenses are going to know that and look out for that. And they know they've got some playmakers, obviously, because they've been winning. So yeah, it's a special case for sure. It seems like, but yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how Beachside handles that target. Because obviously they haven't really had it before. So it's going to be interesting.
Now, before we move on to talk about the game of the week, even though it's not everybody's game of the week, it's my game of the week. I do want to ask you this. I know you've been covering St. Johns County sports for a long time, and football specifically. What is it like for you this year when you look at these teams? You look at where Nease is now with drafts and winning the district last year. You see where Ponte Vedra is. You got Bartram Trail. Looks like they're poised to make a good run this year. Creekside, Beachside, Decoy, St. Augustine. It seems like the football in North Florida and St. Johns County in particular has just gone up levels. I mean, it just seems like a very competitive area for football teams, and they're not. No one's going to take us for granted anymore. I think now it's. I mean, to me, it's a very, very strong area for football teams.
Yeah. St. Johns County has really put itself on the map, over the years, and now it's not just like, oh, look at the St. Johns County team. Like, it's not just one or two teams either. Like Bartram and St. Aug have kind of been, they've been like the traditional, like every year you could expect 8 wins, just expect it, type of team, more than that usually. But I mean, but there's all these other teams are popping up, and they've all got athletes as well. And, some are just good on offense, good on defense, but it seems like throughout the county, these are just deep teams on both sides of the ball. You've got playmakers and guys that are going to be going to college on offense and defense. And it's really just fun to watch as a fan. I mean, you've got some great D coordinators. You've got some inventive head coaches that have these fun styles of offense to watch. I mean, it's really fun. I mean, now's the time. I mean, we should just soak it in and enjoy it because it's going to be fun.
And now we move on to the game of the week. And as you know, I just want to throw this out there for everyone because there was a notice that went out before we talk about the game of the week. But we've had, we've had some pretty good close games the last 3 years, I would say, right? And they've resulted in some excitement after the game. Mm-hmm. So they've actually come out and they said, hey, listen, if you storm the field, it's going to be deemed trespassing, and anyone doing that is going to be subject to criminal prosecution and also possible suspension from school. So if you're thinking about storming the field, probably not a good idea this weekend over at Nease. But let's talk about this game because this is a little bit unique for us here, Anthony, because this is the first time you and I have actually talked about this since, it's always been at the end of the season. So what do you think about this move to the first? Because there's some people with the train of thought going, well, wait a minute, now it's the first game of the season. Does it, if you lose the game, does it hurt the rest of your season? Or does it help you because it's done, it's past, it's in behind, and now you don't – because it's a brutal game. I mean, it's a hard-fought game at the end of the season after, the number of games these kids play. Or is it a positive thing? So I was kind of wondering what your feeling is about moving this game, and especially now Nease and Ponte Vedra aren't in the same district. So that's also kind of a little bit of added bonus here on this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I liked having it later in the year. But I like having it in the beginning. I mean, it has some tradition as well. They were doing that for years. It seemed like kind of developed it into a tradition before they moved, into the same district, and then they kind of pushed it back into October. And but I like it. I think it kind of adds a uniqueness to the rivalry even more than what it already has. It makes Ponte Vedra, Nease, that one of those rivalries that uniquely open the season with each other. They're kind of, and you can't get a better measuring stick than playing your rival, basically a playoff environment, and seeing how the kids handle it just right off the bat. Just jump in the deep end and let's see how we're at. And after game one, we'll have a really good, real good knowledge of what team we're dealing with and how we need to build it, moving forward before you do enter into district play in the middle of the year.
And not only that, if you look at both schedules are not that easy. So when you look at it, there's going to be some good games even down the course of the schedule, even if you don't win this one, right? So you're still going to draw out the fans, and like you said, there's still the district to play for, the whole 9 yards. So it's going to be fun seeing it. It's a heck of a way to kick off the football season, I'll tell you that. Okay, so let's move to our thoughts on the game. Here's my thoughts. I'll go and start. I'm not going to pick a score because I have no idea. I haven't really seen the teams, right? But here's what I do know from what I've heard, what I've you and I have talked about, and from what I've seen, is that I think this is going to be a heavily fought defensive game. I think that Ponte Vedra obviously comes with a strong defensive line. I think Nease is extremely strong with their linebackers as well as with Shamar at the safety position. So I think it's going to come down to a defensive game. I don't see – now I say that, but right – I mean, what is it, the last 2-3 years we've had 1-2 point scores, something like that. I mean, it's been ridiculously close like last year. But I think when you look at it, it's not going to be a high-flying offense. It's not going to be high-powered. Also, this is their first game. So the coaches are still learning. The players are still learning each other. So I look at it as a close game, but I think it's going to be one on the defensive side of the ball. That's just my gut.
Yeah, I feel the same way. The defense tends to be a little ahead of the offense typically, at all levels of football, early on in the year. So I kind of expect that to be the case. The offenses are still, especially with, newer starting quarterbacks, trying to figure out themselves, and you're doing that against a stifling defense. That's, normally your goal is to, be maybe even a little conservative, let the game play out and make some adjustments at halftime. And, maybe we'll see some fireworks in the second half, but that first half especially, it's going to be like a boxing match where they're both kind of feeling each other out,
Yeah, and let's face it, there's going to be some nerves there just because it's the first game. You've had the first game, plus it's your rival. It's going to be a packed house. It's going to be a heck of an environment. But I think you're right. Everything's going to settle down. And who knows, like you said, we could see some great big plays. You never know what the receivers at. I mean, I say that, but you never know what's going to happen with Maddox Spencer, right? I mean, next thing you know, he's gone for, 90 yards or whatever. So you could have those big plays. I just feel like the real key here, especially like you said in the first half, is going to be how the defense responds and how they hold. And then, like I said, maybe in the second half we start seeing the offenses settle down a little bit and then we start seeing a little bit more ball movement, maybe a little bit more placement. See how this thing turns out. But like I said, I just don't feel comfortable with a score this early in the season, not with this big of a rivalry game. I mean, that's like trying to call a Florida State game the first. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to do it. So
it's high school football, so you just never know. You
never
that's why
know.
You come out.
That's right. That's why it's so much fun, right? Absolutely. All right. Well, listen, Anthony, I am looking forward to seeing you. I know that you and I will be at the game of the week at Nease as they take on the Ponte Vedra Sharks, even though some other people in the media think it's Bowles and Rains, I think. So, but that's okay. I talked to them. I expressed my opinion about that whole situation. But anyways, I look forward to seeing you on Friday night at the game. I look forward to seeing everybody else out there. It's going to be a fantastic, fantastic evening for football. I look forward to another great season with you, man. This is going to be fun. We look for, this is going to be fantastic. So we'll have a great time.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's kick it off.
Awesome. So for Anthony Richards, be sure to check him out over at the Ponte Vedra Beach Recorder. He's also on Twitter, X, if you want to call it that now. How much? We talked about it last year. How long do we have to keep saying X, formerly known as Twitter? Can we stop that now? Can I just say X? Go check out Anthony Richards on X.
Yeah, I think people know.
I think people know now, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So go check him out on X. Go check him out at the Ponte Vedra Beach Recorder. For Anthony Richards, I'm the Todd, and you have been listening to the 32081 Scoreboard Show.
Thank you for listening to the 32081. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Please don't forget to subscribe to the show so you can join us for the next episode.
I never miss an episode. It's the best.
Until next time, take care.